A $260 million super yacht, a $3.2 million Picasso painting, a $35 million private jet, millions of dollars in gambling debt, and properties in Beverly Hills and Manhattan. All of this might sound like the shopping list of a tech billionaire like Elon Musk, but in reality it was all bought by a Malaysian state fund, set up to promote the development of the country, the One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB. Now if you're wondering how a super yacht and a Picasso painting helped Malaysian development, well, they don't. And that is why today we're taking a closer look at one of the world's worst corruption scandals, how it worked and who was behind it all, and what all of this has to do with the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Welcome to the Corvus Chronicles. The roots of the scandal began with an election. Najib Razak became the Prime Minister of Malaysia in 2009, and one of his first acts was to establish the 1MDB. It was part of the One Malaysia program and should make strategic investments to alleviate poverty in the country. Najib Razak, however, was not the mastermind behind the fund. The person who came up with it was the businessman Jho Low. Shortly after creating the fund, 1MDB enters a joint venture worth over $2.5 billion with the private Saudi Arabian company PetroSaudi International, whose business model is based on accessing contracts with state-owned oil companies in developing countries like in South America or in Central Asia. However, according to the US Department of Justice, this deal was just a front. The true purpose was to transfer over $1 billion from 1MDB to multiple private Swiss bank accounts, most of it to the accounts of a shell company registered in the Seychelles called Good Star, whose owner was none other than Jho Low. Low then used his money to make a name for himself in New York, partying with Hollywood celebrities, buying apartments, paintings from famous artists, and yes, funding the production of the movie The Wolf of Wall Street with at least $100 million, according to the investigators. Jho Low was even given a special thank you in the movie credits. The cooperation with PetroSaudi, however, was just the beginning. Starting in 2012, the famous investment bank, Goldman Sachs, also started getting involved with 1MDB. The bank helped the Malaysian fund with bond deals worth billions of dollars. On the surface, this money was used for energy infrastructure deals and investment into the Malaysian economy. However, behind closed doors, the people controlling 1MDB diverted millions and billions of dollars into private accounts in Singapore or Switzerland. It may seem like this scheme was a win-win for everyone involved. Well, except for the Malaysian people, of course. However, there was one person who got left out. Javier Justo was the director for PetroSaudi, responsible for developing new oil field investments, mainly in Venezuela. He started this job in 2010 after one of the founders of the company, Tariq Obaid, offered him a salary of over £400,000 and millions in bonuses. However, while Obaid, Jho Low, and everyone else involved in the scandal grew richer and richer, Justo was left out. Not only did he not get anything from their scam, but he did not even receive the salary and bonuses he was promised. After having a verbal fight with Obaid about this, Justo resigned in 2013. But when it was clear that even his severance pay would be just $3 million instead of $5 million, he quickly copied every document on the PetroSaudi service to his personal computer. This leads us to the investigative journalist Claire Rewcastle-Brown, who had her own blog called Sarawak Report, where she published articles about corruption within Malaysia, especially regarding the timber and oil industry and the destruction of the country's rainforest. Through a contract, she learned about the possible corruption deals within the 1MDB and heard about Justo, who was willing to sell the documents he copied for $2 million, exactly the amount he was denied in his severance pay. Thanks to a cooperation with one of Malaysia's biggest media tycoons, Claire was able to pay Justo, and on the 28th of February 2015, she posted the first big story on her website, titled Heist of the Century, which explained how $700 million were transferred from the 1MDB joint venture to private offshore accounts. Suddenly, all the secrets were out in the open, and the effect could be seen immediately. In the US, law enforcement finally had a probable cause to look into Jho Low's mysterious wealth. And in Malaysia, the central bank and anti-corruption agencies also started looking into 1MDB. The police even reported they would look into the Prime Minister, Najib Razak. However, instead of giving up, Najib Razak doubled down. The government restricted free speech, especially on social media. High-ranking employees of media outlets reported on the case were arrested. The magazine The Edge, whose owner helped Claire buy the documents, was banned from publishing. Javier Justo was arrested for blackmailing in Thailand. And to top it all off, the Attorney General, who tried to press charges against the Prime Minister, was dismissed from his position. But even all of those measures couldn't stop the ball from rolling. Thousands of people went on the street to protest in Malaysia, and other countries like Switzerland, the United States, Indonesia, Singapore, and many more started criminal investigations following the published reports. After losing the election in 2018 due to the public outrage over the scandal, Najib is arrested and charged by the Malaysian anti-corruption authorities. And in 2020, he is sentenced to 12 years in prison. Additionally, in 2025, he is found guilty for an additional 25 charges and is sentenced to 15 more years in prison. Goldman Sachs also agreed to a $3.9 billion settlement with Malaysia to settle the investigations into the investment bank, and Tim Leisner, one of the bankers involved in the scandal, was sentenced to 2 years in prison in the US. The mastermind behind the scandal, however, Jho Low, has not been caught up to this day. The US Department of Justice and the country of Malaysia quickly issued arrest warrants for him, and those are still open today. It is believed that he is now living in China, possibly in Shanghai, using a fake passport. His mansions, apartments, mega yacht, private jet, and paintings have all been seized by the criminal investigators and sold in auctions to recuperate some of the stolen funds. The One Malaysia Development Berhad scandal shows how important transparency laws and audits are, and the significant role of investigative journalism and a free press, like the Sarawak Report by Claire Rewcastle-Brown. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the world's biggest corruption scandals, leave a like, comment, or subscribe for more videos like this. Additionally, you can watch some of my other videos about similar corruption cases, like the Lucona scandal in Austria or the Gürtel affair in Spain. Bye!